Welcome back, everybody, for part two for July the 8th of 2011. And I'm going to continue on with connecting the dots between Bible prophecy and current events for you. And right now I'm going to turn my attention to China, because China is one of those nations that we see in prophecy, unlike the United States in the book of Daniel, where there is no mention of the United States. There is mention of China. And I want to show you some significant developments, and so that you'll get a clearer picture why some of these events are taking place. Now, first of all, if you're brand new to my YouTube channel, and I'd like to ask you to visit my website. And when you go to my website, which you'll see at the front of this video, it's www.bibleprophecy.com. Man.com. When you're there, you'll see a link on my front page there that you'll be able to download my book for free. And now this book is brand new, updated book as of July the 7th. That was yesterday of 2011. So in that book, you'll see in chapter 13, there's a section on there about the 200 million man army that Jesus Christ talks about in the book of Revelation. Now I'm going to read a couple verses. When you go to my website, you'll see these where the verses are there, and you'll also be able to see the articles. Click the link. So listen to this. This is from Revelation chapter 9, verse 14 through 16. It says, it said to the sixth angel who had the trumpet, release the four angels who were bound at the great river Euphrates. And the four angels who had been kept ready for this very hour and day and month and year were released to kill a third of mankind. The number of the mounted troops was 200 million. And I heard the number. Now in Revelation chapter 16, verse 12, it says this, and we're talking about the mounted troops that are coming in. And it says, the sixth angel poured out his bowl on the great river Euphrates, and his waters would dry up and prepare the way for the kings of the east. So what we have here is we have a prophecy about the kings of the east. Now, when you read that Revelation, just really home in on the word kings, because it doesn't say king, it says kings, in other words, plural. So we know that there's going to be many kings to join together. There will be an army of 200 million soldiers. We know that when you read the information that I put into the book, we've had people go over. We've talked to people in 4 different provinces. Everybody in China knows that the regular army, and now you'll know that the regular army is exactly 200 million soldiers from China. And so we know not only do we know that China has an army of 200 million soldiers, but at the very time that they have this army of 200 million soldiers, we also know through current events that the Euphrates River is drying up because of one of the worst droughts in history. It has been just evaporating the Euphrates River, and people are using a lot of the water for farming, and it's just going down, 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 and it's going to continue to go down as the heat increases, and we see these last day signs increase until Jesus' words are fulfilled and the Euphrates River will run dry. Now, also keep in mind that there's many possibilities that the river will run dry. It just doesn't have to be because of the droughts and so forth. If you did a study, and all this information again is in my book, you'll see that there are 23 dams built in the Middle East that can actually stop the flow of the Euphrates River. And they've already done it. They can prove that this river can be stopped. So in any given day now, if they wanted to, they could actually turn off the spigots and stop the Euphrates River from flowing, and so that people can actually walk across to dry Euphrates River. So we're not too sure exactly at this point. Will it be God who dries it up from the drought? Will it be a man-made thing? We just know that it's reserved for a special day, hour, in prophecy for this particular prophecy to be fulfilled. Now, let me read you a report, and I'll tie in the dots for you. And this is from the Jerusalem Post that came out today. And it says this: Israel-China relations, which have focused on cooperation in high technology, have shown signs of widening over the last several months to encompass closer defense and security ties. Very interesting. And academic exchanges. People in the small community of the bilateral specialists say. Ehud Barak visited China in June, the first time in over a decade by a defense minister of Israel, which at one time sold over $500 million of weapons to China annually before U.S. squeezed Israel to halt their ties in the late 1990s. So what you have here, what the news is telling us, is that China and Israel are becoming very, very close, or they're becoming closer than most of the other countries around the world. Now, when you read the book of Revelation, you'll see that China marches their troops across this Euphrates River that will dry up. The kings of the East, and I believe that it will be China, it could be Pakistan, a combination of these different world leaders coming from the east side of the Euphrates River. They will come across the Euphrates River because it does say kings, it doesn't say the king. So we know that there'll be many people. They'll number exactly 200 million soldiers. And I give you all the statistics about these numbers in my book of the armies that these different countries have. So that there's no problem today of having an army of 200 million soldiers. That's a given. So what we have here, if China and Israel have relations, and we know that China will march across along with these other kings and attack, guess who? The Antichrist, who's where? Well, he's chased the Jews out of Jerusalem, and the Jews are fleeing to the city, the Petra, where God will protect these people in this city, this Petra, and in Jordan. So the Antichrist will face the China army and along with these other kings. And so that there's a war, and that obviously is the Battle of Armageddon, at which time Jesus comes back, defeats the Antichrist and all the armies that fight against Jesus when he comes back. And that's the last battle before Jesus Christ enters into Jerusalem to receive his rightful throne as King of Kings and Lord of Lords, as he rules from Jerusalem for 1,000 years. So there's a lot of significance to the news that we see that Israel and China are becoming friends, because Israel, along with China, they're not going to really care much, obviously, for the Antichrist. And the Antichrist will be attacked by China and these other nations. So we see the ties coming together to bring the future events of these prophecies that were given to us by Jesus Christ in the book of Revelation. Now, there's another prophecy in the book of Ezekiel, and that's a war that is going to take place. And obviously, if you read it, Ezekiel tells us that Russia is going to get together with the Islamic nations. Iran is going to be one of those nations that I'm going to home in on right now, but there's others like Turkey and Ethiopia and Libya and so forth. But there's an article that came out today. I'll put this up for you right here. Hopefully you'll be able to see this a little bit better. And this article, the headline is September Surprise, Israeli Attack on Iran. And what they're telling us is, well, let me just read it. It says, with specter of willing president looming, will new Defense Secretary Panetta abandon the pragmatism of predecessor support Iran attack? That's the question that they posed in this article. A retired journalist covered the intelligence beat with an extensive senior intelligence sources reports to me that Israel is planning to attack Iran before September UN meeting at which Palestinian statehood will be discussed and possibly approved, he wrote to me some weeks ago. So this reporter who has insides with the hierarchy are saying that Israel is going to be attacking Iran. And one of the reasons why they're going to be attacking Iran, I've written many articles about this at my post, because they need to stop the nuclear quest from Iran. Ahmadinejad wants to wipe Israel out. Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has said over and over again that he will stop Iran, and who knows, if he does this in September, this could be really significant. It says some U.S. intelligence officials think that such a surprise attack on Iran could possibly take place in September when Joint Chiefs of Staff Chairman Mullen retires. It would be political war with its object to divert attention from Palestine. And what he was talking about here is because if the Palestinians are at the UN trying to force a split of the land of Israel, making the Palestinians their own nation, this would divert what's happening there, because if you have a Middle East war there, it definitely would divert it from him. That's what essentially what they're saying. It says senior U.S. intelligence officials are saying that just recently a big U.S. military force has been conducting large contingency planning drills in preparation for an intervention if Israel attacks Iran. Planning for the U.S. intervention is very far in advance, but perhaps the chief thing that counts here is the senior members of the U.S. intelligence are resisting such notions with all of their force that they can. In other words, they don't want Israel just to go in there and do it, but or to take Iran out. But Israel needs to stop it. It says, more recently he sent this. The news is dismaying. Israel is planning a strategical strike against Iran. I've been talking to a former senior agency officials and officials in military intelligence. Not only is it very far along in planning for a regional war, the Obama administration has signed off on it. It will happen soon, before September. This is no drill. I suggest that you go to my website and read the rest of the report. It's pretty long, but here's the bottom line. September, and I'm going to have to go into part 3 for today to explain this, instead of trying to hurry things up. It's very interesting, and I think that you should really listen to it. Not only listen to it, but please do me a favor. My ministry is growing, and I'm trying to reach out to more people. It's growing all over the world, and specifically Africa. I've been blessed there. But tell your people, your friends, your family about my website, about the YouTube videos, and drive them to my YouTube and drive them to my website where they can download the book for free and get all this information so that they can make a really good decision about these last days, because they're going to need to accept Jesus Christ as their personal Savior to be saved from what's coming. So that's the most important part. So I appreciate it if you would drive them. So let's now scroll down and we'll do part 3 of why it's so important about September and what if they do attack Iran. Thanks.